The story begins with a one-of-a-kind best virtual reality fantasy game coming out along with freedom, excitement, exploration, and a vast new reality which is named the Chrono Life. But all the promised charms of the game start to become unreal for our man when every guild and crew starts to reject him for being a newbie, as everyone begins to claim that they do not accept inexperienced players for their party, while stating that he can only come back when he's got plus 11 on all of his equips. The protagonist starts to get frustrated on his own as he continues to curse the game, which looks funny to everyone else around him as they notice that nobody is accepting him into their parties. As our man continues to brag about the strength of his sword all alone, a beautiful-looking girl approaches him so they can team up and farm together, which lightens up his day. On their way into the journey, the protagonist continues to brag to her about how he got money from his parents the day before and spent all of it on in-app purchases. When she asks how much he spent, he states that he has bought the 55k one beginner warrior package, which is around 55 USD, which seemed quite cool to the girl as she keeps on calling him a knight out of a fairy tale, and our guy continues to picture themselves together as if they have already been married and close to naming their first daughter. His daydream shatters as soon as she steps on a twig, and she states that they have reached their destination while they have only reached the middle of the forest, which seems uncanny to our protagonist. But while our man is distracted, she ends up stabbing him with her sword as he continues to bleed out on the ground while asking if she is after his weapon. She states that she isn't after his trash weapon, but she just wants to lure him and finish him off in a distant place where nobody can see them at all. As our guy regains his senses, he realizes that the talk of farming was all a lie, and she enforces the argument by saying that she would never farm with him since he is just a big-time noob, while calling him a real-life loser as well. Not only that, but also, she continues to state how he might be so out of her league as he had to spend money from his parents and use it to reinforce his trash weapons. But oh boy, she doesn't stop there at all as she gaslights him, saying his parents might be some broke losers as he was only able to get the beginner's package, while the protagonist fires up after hearing the name of his parents smeared on the ground. But it goes nowhere good for him as the girl deals the final blow on him by slashing him down on the ground as she can't stand being talked back by someone like him. The moment the protagonist dies down on the ground, some kind of quest gets completed by the girl as she advances to a hidden secret job class, which is none other than the goddess of life since she has finally killed 1,000 people. While the girl moves off to complete her last quest, the protagonist realizes that this game is only survivable for the strong people as he gets revived in a safe area while losing a portion of his experience. The words that the girl uttered and all of the things that he faced in one day continued to play back inside his mind like he was watching some kind of flashback continuously. In pain, he gets out his reinforcement hammer, which levels up a piece of equipment by +1 point, but in one strike, his sword ends up breaking down shattered. That doesn't destroy the willpower of our guy, as he tries the same trick on his gloves as well, and it faces the same fate as his sword since reinforcement fails, resulting in losing the item entirely. One by one, he loses everything that he had to himself, feeling as if quitting is his only option, but suddenly a wooden stick drops beside him, which is the default weapon for the beginners. Suddenly a goofy-looking character comes in front of him to say hi, as he was looking like a total newbie to the protagonist. It seems that the guy was trying to get him the wooden stick for some reason, while giving a thumbs up to him, and our guy felt ashamed of him. But our guy gets motivated enough to reinforce his wooden stick, and surprisingly, it works. It doesn't just stop there, and it continues to work again and again, which continues to make him feel miserable as he felt stupid leveling up such a crab noob item. He continues to level up the item, feeling that it will be breaking apart soon. But it doesn't. The stick reaches the highest level of reinforcement available for the item, which makes everything feel unbelievable for him. While frowning upon his luck, he accidentally drops the item on the ground, which ends up destroying the ground and all the nearby buildings in front of him, and even a part of the world, which ends up shocking everyone in the game as they continue to feel as if it was some sort of in-game event they didn't know about. The protagonist notices that the whole continent has been cracked in half, and he finally makes a new Guinness World Record in the category of virtual reality games as he sets the record number of players hitting the game over in one single moment. The total amount of players comes up to 850, 617, which makes the protagonist feel insanely good as if he was some sort of villain while getting the flashback of the girl who insulted him. Death was just the price to pay for knowledge to him, as only the strong will survive in the game, and he gets ready to teach everyone around him a lesson who wronged him. The protagonist reflects on his real life, as he is a total nobody for not being particularly handsome or tall. At the same time, his grades aren't that great, while not being so good at sports either. Also, if he would have to rank himself in terms of game tiers, he would be about a bronze 4, which is quite pitiful for someone who can barely do anything else in life while being poor. But this time, our guy gets ready with his plus 99 level wooden stick, while being naked for not having anything else on his body. On his way, he stumbles upon a huge, buffed guy who is with his woman, and she is having too much fun seeing her man mistreating our poor protagonist, not realizing what is about to come for him. The protagonist calls him a fatty, ordering him to let go of him, and the moment the guy is about to react, the protagonist bonks the hell out of the guy with his wooden stick, which ends up blasting him away, as if he was a baseball having a home run, which makes the woman grasp in fear, while proving that our protagonist is truly the main character here. But suddenly, everything changes when our guy gets a warning saying that his weapon is badly damaged, and is about to break soon while getting its durability reduced. Not only that, but also the weapon cannot be fixed at all, so he can use it only 3 times more, as he has already used it for 2 times in a row. The protagonist lies down on the ground, believing that he is truly screwed, while remembering the face of his enemies, knowing that he still has to get his revenge on his enemies. He suddenly gets the idea of what he truly has to do, and gets up deciding that he will be utilizing 3 hits of the weapon nicely. He reaches the ravine of the deceased while stepping down the skeletons' heads, only to reach the Chrono Life's ultimate boss monster, who is none other than the twin-headed dragon Eurus. The monster announces his arrival by scaring him, while talking about the land where life and death converge, as he continues to call him foolish. But the talk doesn't last for long, as the protagonist blasts away one of the heads of the monster with his wooden stick. The moment he is about to provide his last attack, the monster begs him to stop, as he has to say something to the protagonist. He even calls the protagonist a boss, stating that he had to warn him by following the script, and asks how he is so strong. But the protagonist doesn't seem to be interested in having a conversation with him, as he just wants him to die, and provides the second hit to the monster, leaving only 1 strike left for the weapon to follow. The protagonist starts to mumble about the durability of the weapon, and the monster ends up hearing about it. Before the protagonist is about to place the last hit available of the weapon, the monster offers that he will be able to help him with the durability of the weapon, which stops our man. He gets a master-servant contract request from the twin-headed dragon, as he wishes to relinquish his soul to him, while he continues to talk about the Ego Sword. It seems that Ego Sword will be the monster acting as the protagonist's weapon by giving up his physical form, and just his soul would be transferred only to make his weapon sentient while evolving into the Ego Sword. Not only that, but also, the weapon will have infinite durability, as Ego Sword is the highest ranking weapon in Chrono Life, which makes our protagonist laugh like a maniac. The monster asks if his offer is good for him or not, but the protagonist continues to laugh, feeling that his story is taking a huge turn, as he is about to give up on getting his revenge. But now all he feels is that the heavens above are begging him to get his vengeance, which makes the monster tremble on his own. The protagonist agrees to make a contract with the monster, and immediately accepts the request, which creates a huge magic circle around him. He gets notified that Eurus has relinquished his physical form, and his soul finally entered his weapon, the wooden stick, ranking the ego weapon with infinite durability. As soon as the transformation finishes, the heavens call for his revenge, as even Eurus is excited for his master to have his revenge, while the protagonist stands on Eurus's legion. The protagonist remembers the face of the girl who betrayed him while preparing for his revenge. Somewhere else, the knights reveal that an SSS-class bounty has been put out across the nation on the protagonist, since he has killed over 800,000 users in just 1 day, which is nothing but a heinous crime. The wanted list has been distributed across the world, and all 12 kingdoms across the 3 continents have received the notice of the bounty, as the reward is 10 billion gold, which felt like a fever dream to everyone, as it is equal to 10 billion won in real-life cash, 8 million USD. Also, the guard knights of the royal palace continue to march, while on their lead is the guild leader of the sacred guild, Saintly. The red cloaks with white crosses are the elite guild of crusaders with only 10 members, cross-line, while their leader is Suho. There is also the most powerful mage of the royal family and leader of the Holy Land Guild, Abracadabra, the leader of the thieves, Ake, the righteous bandits, Hong. Then finally, the ruler of Castle Arden, and also the leader of the Justice Guild, Hawkeye, The 5 strongest guilds of the world all gathered to create an alliance to capture the unprecedented player-killer, while declaring war against the protagonist. When the protagonist is pretty happy with his weapon, the soul of the monster awakens from within to ask him about his happiness, which feels quite weird to the protagonist, as he never expected the wooden stick to having a face all of a sudden. When he asks who it is, Eurus then reveals his name to his master once again, which seems unbelievable to the protagonist, as he couldn't match the face of the monster from before and now. He mentions how his soul now resides within his weapon since he is the spirit of the weapon, and he is also able to pop out of the weapon, which is one of the main features of the ego-ranked weapons. But the protagonist is the only person who will be able to see him, and everything seems normal to the protagonist even though the dragon is now quite squishy. Then he begins questioning him about his other head, but while they are discussing between themselves, the wanted posters of him continue to fall down from the skies as if they were dollar bills out of Hollywood movies. The monster is impressed by the strength of his master, as he was able to cause this much trouble for everyone by slaying 800,000 people in a single swing. When it isn't enough, the 10 billion gold bounties equal to 10 billion won in real life is quite unbelievable to him. The protagonist is surprised at how the dragon can talk about things outside the game world, and it explains that it can do something like that since it is already dead now, so he doesn't really care. The monster seems to be concerned about his master when he finally realizes the wooden stick dropping for the first time must have caused something like that, which makes him think that he will just go with a secret op persona. This means that he might look like a dumbnut while he is quite the overpowered guy, which makes no sense to Eurus, but the protagonist already knows the gist of it, so he takes it quite naturally. The moment he continues to talk about relaxing and enjoying his fantasy life, he gets stabbed by an arrow as he drops down on the ground, which is quite the bullseye from the supreme commander of the top 5 guild alliance, Hawkeye. All of the armies have surrounded the protagonist, and Eurus senses the danger since all of the humans are now united. But the protagonist slowly stumbles and stands on his feet, and he decides to forget the thoughts of keeping his powers a secret and quiet life as his enemies have brought a tragedy upon themselves on their own. The protagonist strikes with his overpowered wooden stick, and the whole continent crumbles once again, destroying everyone around him, erasing the capital of the First Kingdom from the face of the world. The only one standing in front of Hawkeye is none other than the protagonist, and he ends up using his Orb of Calling to summon all guild members of the World Guild Alliance, which creates a mass teleport. In a split second, the World Guild Alliance appears around the protagonist, which will be approximately 3 million members, and Hawkeye points everyone toward the protagonist, revealing their common enemy to attack. But our guy continues to strike around him with his overpowered weapon, while Eurus continues to look at the sight astonishingly as he realizes his thoughts were mistaken before. Abracadabra uses her spell invocation and disintegration to flash down on the protagonist, but he just frowns upon naming his skills while just swinging up his weapon to cause mass destruction, cracking the magic crest. When the royal mages prepare for the next invocation with their captain, the protagonist swings down, which finally brings down a sheer massacre, destroying 3,000 people at once. The entire World Guild Alliance had been slain by one man, while Hawkeye sat on the ground fearing for his life. The protagonist approaches him to state that he made sure to keep him alive, and the fact that it took a lot of energy to hold back his powers, which surprises Hawkeye. The protagonist then hits him with his wooden stick since he is the one who shot him with an arrow, and the battle created a hot topic not only for the users of Chrono Life, but among game players across the world and among people who didn't even play games. When everything in front of the protagonist is done, Eurus reveals his soul to praise his master, and suddenly someone approaches the protagonist, which seems quite annoying to him. But it seems the person is none other than the girl who betrayed the protagonist on his first day, and now she knows about the encounter, calling him a noob at the same time.